नमस्सर्वेभ्यः। अद्य प्रौढमनोरमायाम् 18 पाठः अत्सन्धिप्रकरणस्य पुनरावर्तनं मे मासस्य 31 दिनाङ्कः येनाक्षरसमाम्नायमधिगम्य महेश्वरात् व्याकरणं प्रोक्तं तस्मै पाणिनये नमः। ध्यायन् ध्यायं परं ब्रह्मस्मारं स्मारं गुरोर्गिरः सिद्धान्तकौमुदी व्याख्यां कुर्मः प्रौढमनोरमाम्। Okay. So we have completed the Acsandhiprakaranam of the Praudhamanorama, at least the main Prakarana. The Prakriti Bhava is yet to be done, but the main Acsandhiprakarana is done. So I thought we'll have a recap of what we studied through the Acsandhiprakarana before we move on, because it is a pretty big Prakarana. The Samya Prakarana and the Acsandhiprakarana are the biggest in this, and you'll see, I mean, as you study other granthas, say if you go to Laghu Shabdendu Shekhara or any other granthas, Vyakhyanas on the Siddhanta Kaumudi, these two tend to be the biggest Prakarana, the ones with the most vichara. So what I thought we'll do today is, we don't have slides, we'll just have the text of the Acsandhiprakarana, Praudhamanorama. So each of you can read maybe say a para of it, so that you'll have a practice of reading out the Moola, and then we'll discuss briefly what we studied there, and then we'll move on. Okay. Does anybody want to volunteer to go first? You just have to read what is there in Praudhamanorama under Iko Energy, which is one paragraph on the screen. Okay, so Muthulakshmi is volunteer. Yes.
See, I have the original text, so it's not continuous.
So
there will be a break when I read.
Yeah.
Iko Energy, Pratyahara Grahaneshu, Yad Vacha Vache, Nirudha, Rakshana, Dhirgat Prasisha, Iti Napakat, Lvadibhyaha, Iti Nirteshacha, Tena Ekashabdena,
Ikshabdena,
Tena Ikshabdena, Tat Shashti Grihyante, Yan Shabdena Sapta, Bhavyamanattvena, Tavarnagrahagatve api, Gunanam Abhedakatvena, Anunasakanam api, Yavalanam Grahanat. So Nasti Yatha Sankhyam. Nacha Lakshyartha Bhodat Purvam, Purva Bhavinam, Sakyartha Bhodam Adaya, Yatha Sankhyam Astu iti na Vachyam. Iti Vachyam. Evam api, Tritiya Chaturthyabhyam, Rikarabhyam, Pratyekam Trimshat Upastitau, Livarnanam, Rekadeshasya, Rivarnanam, Ladeshasya cha Sangat, Tasmad Iha, Thani Antaragama, Sutrena, Antaragama Sutrena, Eva Ishtasiddhi Anitya
Ishtasiddhi iti
Ishtasiddhi iti Abhipretya aha Tanataha Antaryat iti.
Alam. Dhanyavada. Iko Energy. Kahavich. Okay, so is there a question, Paul? Yes, Paul, you have a question?
I was volunteering. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I can. So maybe we'll discuss this bit and then you can read out the next part.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. इको एणचि कः प्रश्नः अत्र सिद्धान्तकौमुद्यां किं लिख्यते स्थानतः अन्तर्याद् ईकारस्य यकारः सुधी उपास्यः इति स्थिते स्थानतः अन्तर्याद् ईकारस्य यकारः इति कौमुद्याः पङ्क्तिः इकः यण् अचि अचिपरे इग्वर्णानां यण्वर्णाः आदेशेन विधीयन्ते इक् इति चत्वारः वर्णाः इ उ ऋ ल यण् इत्यपि चत्वारो वर्णाः य व र ल यथासङ्ख्येनैव स्थान्यादेश निर्णयः सिद्ध्यति यथासङ्ख्यमनुदेशसमानां is obviously simpler, much simpler than deciding antaratamya. You just see there is 4 and 4. It's a 1:1 adesha. So it is much simpler than thinking, okay, which is the sthani for ikara, which is the sthani for yakara, do they match, and so on. So why not do it that way? Is an obvious question that would arise. So that is the point that Dikshita addresses in Ikoenachi. Katham sthanyadesha nirnayah यथासङ्ख्येन वा स्थान आन्तरतम्याद्वा इति प्रश्नः यथासङ्ख्येन निर्वाहः न भवति किमर्थं प्रत्याहारेषु तद्वाच्यवाच्ये निरूढा लक्षणा प्रत्याहारेण येन केनचित् प्रत्याहारेण के वर्णाः गृह्यन्ते माहेश्वरसूत्रेषु ये वर्णाः ते एव गृह्यन्ते तद्वाच्याः तैः माहेश्वरसूत्रस्थैः वर्णैः अणुदित्सवर्णस्य च प्रत्ययः इति सवर्णग्राहकत्वेन तस्य दीर्घप्लुतादयः अपि गृह्यन्ते तद्वाच्यवाच्याः सर्वदा प्रत्याहारैः तद्वाच्यवाच्याः एव गृह्यन्ते इति सिद्धान्तः So pratyahara will never convey only the letters of the Maheshwara Sutra. It will convey those letters along with their savarnas, which is tadvachya vachya. Katham nyayate dirghat jasi cha iti jnapakat lvadibhyah iti nirdeshat cha. Dirghat जसि इति च परे सवर्ण दीर्घः निषिध्यते यदि अकस्सवर्णे दीर्घः इत्यतः अकः इति अनुवर्त्य प्रथमयोः पूर्वसवर्णः इत्यनेन पूर्वसवर्णदीर्घः विधीयते अकः प्रथमाद्वितीययोः अचिपरे पूर्वसवर्णदीर्घः यदि अक् इति प्रत्याहारेण दीर्घः न गृह्यते तर्हि दीर्घाज्जसि च इत्यत्र दीर्घग्रहणं व्यर्थं स ज्ञापयति प्रत्याहारेण तद्वाच्यवाच्याः गृह्यन्ते इति एकं ज्ञापकम् लवादिभ्यः इति निर्देशात् लू आदिभ्यः इति स्थिते पाणिनिः यणादेशं करोति लवादिभ्यः दीर्घस्य ऊकारस्य स्थाने यणादेशं करोति तेन किं ज्ञायते इको यणचि इकः स्थाने विधीयमानः यण् दीर्घस्यापि भवति तेन प्रत्याहारेषु तद्वाच्यवाच्ये निरूढा लक्षणा तथा सति किं भवति इक् शब्देन तेन इक् शब्देन षट्षष्टिः गृह्यन्ते 66 from ik you have e u r l इवर्णस्य 18 भेदाः उवर्णस्य 18 भेदाः ऋ ल वर्णयोः आहत्य 30 right so ऋकार 18 plus लकार 12 together 30 of ऋकार so 30 plus 18 plus 18 is 66 इक् शब्देन षट्षष्टिः गृह्यन्ते यण् शब्देन 7 यवलानाम् अनुनासिकप्रभेदः अपि अस्ति इत्यतः यण् वर्णाः 4 ततः अनुनासिकाः यवलाः 3 आहत्य 7 एवं सति यथासङ्ख्यं नास्ति so since it is 66 sthanis and 7 adeshas obviously there is no yathasankhya can happen only if there are equal numbers of sthani and adesha भाव्यमानत्वेन सवर्ण अग्राहकत्वेपि अत्र प्रश्नः इक् शब्देन षट्षष्टिः इति अस्तु यण् शब्देन सप्तानां ग्रहणं कथम् भाव्यमानेन सवर्णानां ग्रहणं न इत्यस्ति भाव्यमानः नाम विधीयमानः यः तत्र सवर्णग्राहकत्वं नास्ति इति परिभाषा भाव्यमानत्वेन सवर्ण अग्राहकत्वे अपि गुणानाम् अभेदकत्वेन अभेदका गुणाः इति पक्षः गुणाः नाम बाह्यप्रयत्नाः अनुनासिका अननुनासिकाः अल्पप्राणमहाप्राणाः तथा स्वरित क्षम्यतां संवारनादघोषादयः बाह्यप्रयत्नाः गुणाः ते अभेदकाः इति पक्षः अतः अनुनासिक अननुनासिकयोः मध्ये भेदः नास्ति इति पक्षे अनुनासिकानामपि यवलानां ग्रहणात् अतो नास्ति यथासङ्ख्यत्वं नास्ति प्रश्नः अस्ति वा योगेश महोदय हरि ओम् न श्रूयते न श्रूयते योगेश महोदय प्रश्नः अस्ति चेत् कृपया विलिख्य प्रेष्यताम् काचित् समस्या स्यात् अतः यथासङ्ख्यं नास्ति न च लक्ष्यार्थबोधात् पूर्वभाविनं शक्यार्थबोधमादाय यथासङ्ख्यमस्तु इति वाच्यम् तदा किमस्ति प्रत्याहारेषु तद्वाच्यवाच्ये लक्षण वस्तुतः माहेश्वरसूत्रस्थाः तद्वाच्याः एव गृह्यन्ते किन्तु लक्षणया अर्थात् तत्सम्बद्धत्वात् तत्सवर्णाः अपि गृह्यन्ते इति लक्षण लक्ष्यार्थबोधात् पूर्वभाविनं शक्यार्थबोधमादाय there are two steps there. In first, by any pratyahara, we take only the varnas in the Maheshwara Sutra, which are directly given by the pratyahara. In the second step, we take the savarnas of those. So why don't we stop at first step, do yatha sankhya, and then come down to the second step as a question. Lakshyartha bodhat purvabhavinam shakyartha bodhamadaya yatha sankhya-mastu iti na vachyam. Evam api. So even if we do that, तृतीय चतुर्थाभ्याम ऋकार लकाराभ्याम प्रत्येकं त्रिंशद् उपस्थितौ लवर्णानां रेफादेशस्य ऋवर्णानां लादेशस्य च प्रसंगात्. Means if we do that, say we take the first step, there are 4 ik letters, 4 end letters. So we do yatha sankhya. We say for ikara it is y, for ukara it is v, for r it is repha, and for l it is lakara. Then we take savarnas. That is, for all savarnas of ikara, yakara is the adesha. Fine. For all savarnas of ukara, vakara is the adesha. Fine. For all savarnas of rikara, repha is the adesha. इदानीं ऋलुवर्णयोः परस्परं सावर्ण्यमस्ति इत्यतः ऋकारस्य सवर्णेन ऋकारस्य सवर्णाः इत्यनेन लकारोऽपि गृह्यते. Even likara is taken together. All 30 are savarnas of rikara. So then for all these repha will be the adesha. ऋकारस्य ये सवर्णाः सर्वेषामपि रेफादेशस्य प्रसङ्गः. पुनः लिकारस्य सवर्णानां सर्वेषां लादेशस्य प्रसङ्गः इति उक्तत्वात् तत्रापि 30 अपि लादेशस्य प्रसङ्गः. So what in effect is, for both rikara and likara we have an option, either repha or lakara will be the adesha, which is not desired. एवमपि तृतीय चतुर्थाभ्यां ऋकार लकाराभ्यां प्रत्येकं 30 उपस्थितौ लवर्णानां रेफादेशस्य ऋवर्णानां लादेशस्य च प्रसंगात्. तस्मादिह स्थानेन्तरतमः इति सूत्रेणैव इष्टसिद्धिः. अतः कथञ्चिदपि स्थानतः आन्तर्यादेव स्थान्यादेशनिर्णयः कर्तव्यः, यथा संख्येन निर्वाहः न भवति इत्यभिप्रेत्याः स्थानत आन्तर्यादिति. अत एव कौमुद्यां स्पष्टमुक्तं स्थानतः आन्तर्याद् ईकारस्य यकारः. So if you have any questions regarding eco energy, please come forth. There is one by Yogesh Pandya. He asks, Abhedakaha nama korthaha. Bhedam na kalpayanti. That is, they do not say if there is a anunasika variety of a letter and ananunasika variety, they are not treated as different. They are treated as the same. That is, even without savarna grahana. Savarna grahanam vinapi अनुनासिक अननुनासिकयोर्मध्ये भेदः नास्ति. यः अनुनासिकः आकारः अस्ति निरनुनासिकश्च अस्ति, यद्यपि सवर्णग्रहणं न स्यात्. अत एव इदानीं तपरस्तत्कालस्य इदानीम् अतः दीर्घः इत्युक्ते अतः नाम ह्रस्वाकारस्य इत्यत्र सर्वेषाम् उदात्तानुदात्तस्वरितानां तथैव अनुनासिक निरनुनासिकानां ग्रहणं भवत्येव. सर्वदा सवर्णग्रहणं नाम भिन्नकालानां ग्रहणे एव तात्पर्यम्. समानकालानां तु सवर्णग्रहणं विना अपि अभेदकागुणाः इत्यनेनैव ग्रहणं भवति इत्यर्थः. Whenever I say a, simple a, it means even if there is no savarna grahana, even without going to anudit savarnasya cha pratyayah, an a can take its own those 6 of the hrasvakara, the udatta anudatta swaritas and anunasika niranunasikas, because again abhedakaha gunaha iti ekah pakshah. भेदका गुणाः इति अपरः पक्षः अस्ति, किन्तु प्रायेण सिद्धान्ते अभेदकाः गुणाः इत्येव प्रायेण स्वीक्रियते. Any other questions? Ko energy. So next, anachicha. Paul?
Okay. Anachicha. Am I heard well?
Yeah, you are.
Okay. Dve veti
Hmm.
yaro nastika iti sutra va grahanam anuvartate iti na jalau iti sutre kayatah.
Hmm.
एवं च सर्वत्र शाकल्यस्य इति सूत्रं तत् प्रपञ्चभूतं
Hmm.
पूर्वोत्तरसूत्रद्वयं च नरम्भणीय इति भावः
न आरम्भणीयम्
दीर्घात् न आरम्भणीयम् इति भावः आरम्भणीयम् भावः यत्तु दीर्घात् आचार्याणाम् इति सूत्रे आचार्यग्रहणं पूजार्थम् इति अभिप्रेत्य वाक् इति भाष्य उदाहृते विकल्पे उपपत्तिचिन्तार्थम् क्लिश्यन्ते तन् मूढैव पूजार्थतायाः
प्रामाणिकैः अनुक्तेः
त्रिप्रवृत्तिषु इति सूत्रे शाकटायनग्रहणस्यापि तथापतेः न चेष्टापतिः संस्कार्थेति त्रिसकार
त्रिसकारपर
कयट हरजत आदि ग्रंथ विरोधा स्वग्रंथ विरोधा च अतः एव प्रातिशाख्यभाष्येऽपि आत्वार्थम् इति मन्त्रे तकारस्य द्वित्वविकल्प उदाहृतः माधवेन च आस्ते यत्र आस्ते इत्यत्र सकारस्य द्वित्वविकल्प उक्तः एवं च द्वात्रिंश इत्यत्र सकारस्य द्वित्वम्
असत् इति उक्तिः
एव असत्ति इति दिक्.
हाँ, थैंक यू. Anachicha. That is fine. Anachicha. किं विधीयते अनचिच इत्यनेन अचः परस्य यरः द्वे वास्तः न तु अचि इति सूत्रार्थः. यर्वर्णस्य द्वित्वं विधीयते, द्वे वास्तः विकल्पेन विधीयते. यरोनुनासिकेनुनासिको वा इत्यतः वा इति अनुवर्त्य विकल्पेन द्वित्वम् इति कैयटः वदति. Okay, this is fine. Evam sati sutratrayam asti dvitva prakarane दीर्घादाचार्याणां त्रिप्रभृतिषु शाकटायनस्य सर्वत्र शाकल्यस्य दीर्घादाचार्याणाम् इति द्वित्वनिषेधसूत्राणि त्रीणि द्वित्वनिषेधसूत्राणि सन्ति त्रिप्रभृतिषु शाकटायनस्य त्र्यादिषु वर्णेषु संयुक्तेषु द्वित्वं न इति एकं सर्वत्र शाकल्यस्य कुत्रापि द्वित्वं न भवति इति एकं दीर्घात् परस्य द्वित्वं न भवति इति एकं त्रीणि द्वित्वनिषेधसूत्राणि सन्ति तेषां किं प्रयोजनम् इति प्रश्नः तत्र सूत्रत्रयेपि शाकल्यस्य शाकटायनस्य आचार्याणाम् इति पूर्ववैयाकरणानां ग्रहणं करोति पाणिनिः. He has mentioned earlier grammarians Shakatayana, Shakalya, and by acharyanam he refers to earlier grammarians in general. Yatra yatra Paninihi Purvacharyanam Smaranam Karoti Tatra Arthadvayasya Sambhavyata Asti. There are two options there. Either he is quoting their names just for respect, okay, Kevalam Pujarthata, just for respect, and he also endorses their views. So in that case, Panini also endorses the view of the earlier grammarian. He is naming them just to give credit. Maybe that he was the person who put forth the concept or something. And the second one is to say, according to that acharya, this is what happens. According to me, it is different. Which means there is a vikalpa. There is an option. It is optional. In the first case, if Panini also holds the same view, then it is not optional. It is compulsory karya. And the name of that earlier grammarian is just to show respect. In the second case, it is to show a difference in view. According to the view of the earlier acharya, it is something different, and according to Panini, it is something different. So in the second case, it will result in a vikalpa. Now, what is it in this case is a question. So is it that Panini takes up the names of Shakatayana, Shakalya, and other acharyas just for pujarthata? Kevalam pujartham va. Pujartham chet kaha arthaha dvitvanishedhaha nityaha. That is compulsorily there is dvitvanishedha. Triprabhritishu tryadishu varneshu sanyukteshu kutrapi dvitvam nasyat. Sarvatra kutrapi dvitvam na bhavati ityukte, I mean that obviously cannot be a compulsory thing. Right? Kevalam pujartham ityukte sarvatra dvitvam na bhavati iti paninehe matam iti chet dvitva vidhayakani sutrani anapekshitani. Right? And dirghad acharyanam dirghat parasya dvitvam na bhavati ityapi na sadhu. Why? He shows examples where samskrta tri sakara para kayyata haradattadi grantha virodhat. So in samskrta, when we are doing that, so there is a case where k, there are two sakaras and there is a kakara. So there one of the sakara is doubled to give a form with three sakaras. Now initially there are three varnas in sanyoga. Sakara, sakara, kakaranam, trayanam sanyogaha vartate. Tatra dvitvam kritva chaturthaha varnaha. Tritiyaha sakaraha nama chaturthaha sanyukta varnaha tatra yojyate. Kayyata, haradatta, ityadi sarvaihi. So that will be against it. If you are saying there is compulsorily dvitva nishedha when there are more than three letters in conjunction, so that goes against the three sakara form in samskrta, which has been accepted by Kayyata, Haradatta and everybody. Right? That is first case. Similarly, Atva Ratham in a Pratishakhya, Atva A iti dirghat parasya takarasya dvitva vikalp dvitvam udahratam asti. So there is an optional dvitva for the takara. If dirghad acharyanam ityatra acharya grahanam pujartham tarhi nityam dirghat parasya nishedhah syat tataneshyate madhavena cha aste ityatra sakarasya dvitva vikalpah uttah. So madhavaha aste akarat parasya sakarasya dvitvam uchyate madhavena tadapi nasyat. So the first case, assuming that Panini has taken up the names of the acharya just for respect and he also endorses their views, will not hold, because lakshya examples go against it. There are numerous examples where we do find dvitva even when there are more than three letters in conjunction and even for letters which follow a dirgha. So the first view is not there. The second view is to say that this is for a vikalpa, that is according to Shakalya there is no dvitva anywhere. Which means according to Panini there is dvitva and it results in Dvitva being optional everywhere. Triprabhritishu, again, if more than 3 letters in conjunction, there is no Dvitva according to Shakatayana. According to Panini, there is Dvitva, which means Dvitva is Vikalpa. The same is with Dirghadacharyana, which is to say that all Dvitva is Vikalpa. Now, if Anachicha ityatraiva yadi vagrahanam anuvartate, tarhi Dvitvam Vikalpena iva bhavati. Dvitva is anyway optional. Tatha sati etat sutratrayam na kartavyam. So these 3 sutras do not have any purpose, because the objective of the sutras, which is to bring about an optional nishedha in Dvitva, is anyway achieved by Vagrahana in Anachicha. Anachicha iti Dvitvam Vikalpena iva vidhiyate ityatah sarvamapi Dvitvam Vikalpena iva iti chet etat sutratrayam navashyakam iti Dikshitanam siddhantah. He says that these 3 sutras are not required. Dveva iti yaronunasikaha iti sutrat vagrahanam anuvartate iti najhalau iti sutre kayyatah. Evam cha sarvatra shakalyasya iti sutram tat prapanchabhutam purvottara sutradvayam. See, by saying sarvatra shakalyasya, so it will anyway cover all the other cases. Everywhere, according to Shakalya, there is no Dvitva, which means whether there are 3 or more letters in conjunction, or whether it follows a dirgha, all those cases are covered. That is why he says tat prapanchabhutam. Prapanchabhutam means that which is already covered by that. Purvottara sutradvayancha narambhaniyam iti bhavaha. Yattu dirghadacharyanam iti sutre acharya grahanam pujartham iti abhipretya. Pujartham ityukte dvitva nishedhaha nityaha ityarthaha. Tatha sati vak iti bhashyodahrate vikalpe. Vak iti akarat dirghat parasya kakarasya dvitvam bhashye udahratam. Bhashyodahrate vikalpe upapatti chintartham klishyante tan mudhaiva. Pujarthatayaha pramanikaihi anuktehe. Triprabhritishu iti sutre Shakatayana grahanasyapi tathapattehe. Nacha ishtapattihi. Samskarta iti Trisakara para kayyata haradattadi grantha virodhat swagrantha virodhatcha. Atayeva pradishakhya bhashyepi आत्वारथम इति मंत्रे तकारस्य द्वित्व विकल्पः उदाहृतः माधवेन च आस्ते इत्यत्र सकारस्य द्वित्व विकल्पः उक्तः एवं च धात्रंशः इत्यत्र तकारस्य द्वित्वम् असत् इत्युक्तिरेव असति सो हिस् टार्गेट इज देयर धात्रंशः धातृ अंशः यणादेशे कृते धात्रंशः तत्र आकारात् परस्य तकारस्य अनचिच इति द्वित्वे धात्रंशः इति एकं रूपम् इति कौमुद्यां लिख्यते पूर्वेण अर्थात् रामचन्द्रेण प्रक्रिया कौमुद्यां तं निराक्रियते दीर्घादाचार्याणाम् इति नित्यमेव द्वित्व निषेधः अतः अत्र तकारस्य द्वित्वं न भवति इति तस्य मतं तत् तकारस्य द्वित्वम् असत् इत्युक्तिरेव असति so that argument itself does not hold good is what he tries to demonstrate. Any questions? Yogesh Mahodaya. I think you have muted yourself. Maybe you should unmute yourself. Yes, I can still not hear you. Maybe your microphone is not working. So maybe you should just try to log out and log in again. Sometimes that will work with audio. Do you have a question? If you have a question, you can type it out. If you are volunteering to read, then you can, maybe you should log out and log in so that you can, maybe your audio will work. Yes, Paul, you have a question?
Yeah, so if Dikshita has decided that these three sutras are not necessary, then what's the end result on what he's thinking of why they're there?
It says they're not required. That's it, simple. He says, I mean, it's just not required. Panini did it. I mean, it was a mistake. That's what he thinks.
Oh, he's saying that Panini made a mistake.
Yeah.
Okay.
Narambhaniyam. That is very clear. Huh? अत्र प्रश्नः मुधैव इति मुधा नाम व्यर्थम् इत्यर्थः तद् उपपत्तिचिन्तार्थं क्लिश्यन्ते that is there is so once they have decided that acharya grahanam पूजार्थम् इति निश्चिते वाक् इति उदाहरणं कथं संगच्छते यदि दीर्घात् परस्य द्वित्वनिषेधः तर्हि वाक् इति भाष्योदाहृते विकल्पे उपपत्तिचिन्तार्थं कथम् उपपद्यते you cannot simply dismiss a bhashyakara's udaharana as wrong. So how is it that bhashyakara gave vak as an udaharana? Iti klishyante. So they take some complicated circuitous route to substantiate that prayoga of bhashyakara. Tatu mudha. That is a waste of time. Because anyway, that is not pujartha and it is not a nitya nishedha. Vikalpena eva nishedha ataha vak iti dirghaha vak iti dvitvam siddhyati. Ataha tat klishyante. क्लेशः मुधा व्यर्थम् इत्यर्थः. So the next question, there is one more question. माधवः कः? माधवः धातुवृत्तेः रचयिता. There are many dhatu vrittis, I mean vritti, basically vritti granthas are those which give the meaning of sutras. Nanim kashika vrittihi ityadayah ashtadhyayaः vrittayः tathaiva dhatu vrittayः santi. Dhatu रूपाणां विषये चर्चा प्रचलति. That bahu prasiddha dhatu vrittihi madhaviya dhatu vrittihi. There are many different dhatu vrittis again. Different people have discussed about the dhatus and their rupas, their meanings and so on. One of the most famous is the dhatu vritti by Madhava. Madhava of the Sayana Madhava, the duo. Okay. So that is one. He is one of the most most venerated dhatu vrittikaras. Most people, if they are talking about dhatus, they will always refer to dhatu vritti. Should always refer to dhatu vritti. So here he is contesting one such view of Madhava. Okay. Any other questions? Mudha iti avyayam va. Satyam. Mudha iti avyayam. Sadagopan.
So, there is I was thinking, even if Yaravanunasike Anunasike va iti va anuvartate hiyapi, tadapi nothing wrong in saying sarvatra sakalyasya. It can still mean, for example, you see sakalyasya grammar grantha, he would have said that nisheda. So it is only fortifying what is already indicated by va. I don't think they are not, in any case they are not contradictory.
They are not contradictory.
Redundancy and all is in our mind.
Yeah.
Otherwise, to make it all very prapancham and everything clear.
Exactly.
You can always invite, I think it's not such a big objection as it appears.
It's not a big objection at all. I mean, see, it is very clear when he is saying it's this. But if you look at why Dikshita does it, I mean, what it happened over the time is that Alpaksharatva of the sutra has become the prime importance. When we look at the Vyakarana tradition, as people go on, they have tried to find out the way of removing everything that was redundant in Paninian system. For Panini, it might have been quite natural. He is stating, what is it? I mean, it might even be stating that in other cases, Dvitva is naturally found, whereas if it is, say, among followers of Shakalya, they don't prefer to use Dvitva. Or after Dirgha might not be used very frequently. So, for Panini, it might have been natural. But strictly, when you are looking from the point of view of Ashtadhyayi, is it required? Okay. So, it's obviously Panini, it's not, I mean, if Dikshita says it's not required, it is not that Panini, it was an oversight of Panini or something. Panini sometimes states things where we say it as Pashtartha or, Mandamatya Anugrahanartha and all that, Anugrahartha, to, make things clear for dullards and so on. Where everywhere, Panini's intention is to just state things clearly. Is it strictly necessary or essential for those sutras to be? The question here is, if those sutras are not there, will it make any difference to how we interpret the Ashtadhyayi, or more importantly, will it make any difference to the Lakshya or Prayoga? Right? So, will it make a difference to the Prayoga? No, it will not. That is all it means. When we say the sutra is not essential, what it means that even in the absence of these three sutras, there will not be any difference in prayoga. Since Vitva is optional everywhere, even following Dirgha, there will be a form without Vitva, there will be one form with it. So that will not make a difference to the prayoga. So why did Panini do it? Is a question. So as you said, one thing is just he is stating different schools. I mean, if you look at Panini's time, it is not a case where Panini is the only grammarian or his is the only authority. There are people who follow different authorities. So maybe he is just stating, okay, this is a view of their school. That is, I am aware of it. Maybe he is just trying to say that I know that there are different thoughts where, say, according to Shakatayana, there is no Dvitva at all in one particular case. According to Shakalya, there is no Dvitva anywhere, whatever. But according to me, it is optional Dvitva everywhere. That is all. It might be a simple statement of Panini. Okay. So why cannot, so there's a question, why exactly it cannot be Pujartha? What we mean to say when it is Pujartha is that Panini also endorses that view. If you are saying the taking up the name of a grammarian is Pujartham iti yadi uchyate, tarhi Paninerapi mate tadeva iti arthaha. So tattu na, it is not that Panini also says that there is no Dvitva anywhere or there is no Dvitva. He does not endorse their view. He neither endorses them nor opposes them. It is simply a statement. Okay. It is simply, I mean, according to how it stands, it is simply Panini's statement that these are the different views regarding Dvitva. Okay. Which is fine. I mean, Panini has every right to state it. But for our practical purposes, if you look at the prayoga, even without those statements, it will not make a difference to us. Okay. So, now the question, why did not Dikshitar say so? Well, that we will have to debate. Why Dikshitar said? Na arambhaniyam, he says, no, not necessary. Okay. So that is how he views it. He views it strictly from the utilitarian point of view. Is this sutra essential for Ashtadhyayi or not? He says it's not. Over. Okay. So any other questions? So anybody who wants to read? Next, volunteers for Sthanivada Deshanal Vidhau. Okay, maybe. Okay. Saragopan.
Yes, Stanivad Adesha Vidhau. Stanivad Adesha. Dhatu Anga Krita Tadida Avyaya Sup Ting Pada Adeshaha iti Pracha Uttam. Kintate Parigananam Udaharanamatram cha na Adyeha. Udaharanamatram va na Adyeha.
Sich Ksa
Sich Ksa Chang Ang Adinam Snad
Shnad
Adesasya Sna Adesasya Sanachaha Cha Asangraha Apatehe Na Antyaha Avyayasya Anga Padabhyam Pruthak Grahana
Vayarthyat
Grahana Vayatyat Pruthak Grahana Vayatyat Prastutya iti Vrittikara Uttam Tad Udaharanamapi Mandam Tvamatrasya Anavyayatvat Kritvena Siddhatvat Cha iti Ashaya
Ashayena
Aga Adeshaha iti Analvidau iti kim Tena Tasmata तस्य तस्मिंश्च विधौ मा भूत् तत्र अलाविधौ यथा युगोरस्केन अत्र सकारस्य स्थानिवत्वेन विसर्गवत् अट् त्वम् आश्रित्य अड्व्यवायेऽपि इति नत्वं प्राप्तम् अलः परस्य द्यौः पन्थाः अलिन्याभ्यादिलोपो न अलो विधौ द्युकामः वलि लोपो न अलि विधौ यजेः तः क इष्टः अशि च इति उक्तं न अल् च इह स्थान्यावयव एव गृह्यते तेन रामाय इत्यादौ सुपि च इति दीर्घः सिद्धः तद्विधौ हि यज्ञादित्वम् आश्रितं यत् च यञ् च आदेश अवयवः न तु स्थानि अवयवः इति तत् एतत् सकलम् अभिप्रेत्य आह न तु स्थान्यलाश्रय इति आश्रयणं च इह यथा कथञ्चित् न तु प्राधान्येन एव इति
आग्रहः
तेन प्रपट्य इत्यत्र वलादिलक्षण यण् न भवति
Okay. Yeah, thank you. स्थानिवदादेशो नल्विधौ आदेशः स्थानिवत् स्यात् कः आदेशः पुराचां ग्रन्थे अथवा कौमुद्यां किम् उच्यते धातु अङ्ग कृत् तद्धित अव्यय सुप् तिङ् पदादेशाः एतेषाम् आदेशाः स्थानिवत् भवन्ति इति उक्तम् किं तत् परिगणनम् उदाहरणमात्रं वा is it just an example or is it a defined list that only the adeshas for these will be sthanivat or is it just a list of examples na adyaha it cannot be a defined list why among these dhatu anga krit tadhita etc we cannot cover these sich ksa chang angadinam chli lungi iti chli pratyam vidhaya tatra sichadayah tasya adeshatvena vidhiyante chleha adeshatvena chleha sich ksa chang ang ityadayah ete na grihyante tatra because they are not covered by any of those. Again shnadeshasya shanachah cha and also the shanach which replaces shna. So all these will not be covered, therefore it is not a defined list. Na antyaha, and it can also not be just an example. Why? Avyayasya anga padabhyam prithak grahana vayyarthyat. It says avyaya, anga pada and avyaya, and avyaya will be always be an anga because on an avyaya you add the sup pratyaya, and once the sup pratyaya is deleted pratyaya lakshanena padam api bhavati. So it can either be covered under anga or under pada. So you need not have an avyaya separately, and also there is no example for avyaya. Prastutya iti udaharanam diyate. Ktva pratyasya sthane lyabadesham kritva prastutya iti. Tattu tad udaharanam api mandam. That example is also not good. Why? Ktva matrasya anavyaya tvat. So the adesha there is for the ktva pratyaya. Okay. Ktva is replaced by lyap. Now ktva, only ktva is not an avyaya. Ktvanta is an avyaya, lyabanta is an avyaya. Ktva is not an avyaya. So it is not an adesha for an avyaya. And secondly, kritvena siddhatvacha. Ktva is a krit pratyaya. Ataha kridadeshaha sthanivat ityanenaiva sthanivat bhavaha siddhyati. Tatha sati avyaya grahanam vyartham. So even if it is just seen as a list of examples, it is not a good list. Therefore, it is not required to say that adeshaha sthanivat syat. Sarvopi adeshaha. Adesha matram sthanivat bhavati. अनल्विधौ इत्यस्ति अनल्विधौ इति किं तेन तस्मात् तस्य तस्मिंश्च विधौ मा भूत् अनल् विधिः इत्यस्ति अल्विधिः नाम अल्विधिः इति समासः अस्ति देयर इज अ समस्त कंपाउंड वर्ड देयर व्हिच कैन बी स्प्लिट इन 4 वेज अलाविधिः अलः परस्य विधिः अलः विधिः अलिविधिः so in all these 4 cases there is स्थानिवद्भाव निषेध if a karya is alavidhi if the karya which we intend to do alavidhi depends on a single letter as separating it okay and alah parasya vidhi if the karya depends on it something following a single letter alah sthane vidhi if it is a substitution in place of a single letter ali pare vidhi or if it is a vidhi when followed by a single letter al so in all these cases these are treated as al vidhi and in all these cases there is sthanivat-bhava nishedha ala vidhau yatha vyudhoraskena uraska ityasti तत्र सकारस्य स्थाने विसर्गः विसर्गस्य स्थाने पुनः सकारः अस्ति so now if the sakara by sthanivat-bhava is treated as visarga advyavayepi atkupvangnyam vyavayepi ityatra at विसर्गः अट्सु अंतर्भवति इत्यतः नकारस्य णत्वं भवति रेफा and nakara when they are separated by at ata vyavadhane ku ku इत्यनेन व्यवधाने पु इत्यनेन व्यवधाने आंगा व्यवधाने नुमाच व्यवधाने रेफात् परस्य नकारस्य णत्वं भवति so this is a karya which is ala vidhi which depends on a separation of a single letter I mean there might be many letters but each of them singly is what we consider so if sakara by sthanivat-bhava is treated as visarga and visarga is an at then there would have been natva अतः अलाविधौ स्थानिवद्भाव निषेधस्य उदाहरणम् अलः परस्य द्यौः पन्थाः दिव इत्यस्ति पथिन् इत्यस्ति तत्र वकारस्य नकारस्य च आदेशः क्रियते तस्य स्थानिवद्भावेन यदि वकारत्वं नान्तत्वं वा तर्हि हल् ज्ञाभ्यः हलः परस्य सुप्रत्ययस्य लोपः इत्यनेन लोपः स्यात् अतः लोपः न भवति because this is alah parasya vidhau sthanivat-bhava nishedha alah vidhau dyukamah div iti vakarasya sthane sorry that is not it div iti vakarasya sthane satyam ukaradeshah kritah tasya sthanivat-bhavena yadi vakaratvam tarhi lopo vyoho ityanena vakarasya sthane lopah vidhiyate alah vidhihi lopo vyorvali iti alah vidhihi तत्र स्थानिवद्भावः नास्ति अलिविधिः यजेः क्तः क इष्टः कर इष्टः इत्यस्ति तत्र रेफस्य सॉरी हशिच इत्यनेन उत्वं रोः कस् इष्टः इत्यस्ति तत्र ससजुषोरुः इत्यनेन रुत्वं विधीयते ततः भो भगो को अपूर्वस्य योषि इत्यनेन यकारः तस्य लोपः तथा क इष्टः इति उपम् तत्र इष्टः इति यजेः यज धातोः यकारस्य स्थाने सम्प्रसारणत्वेन इकारः यदि इकारः स्थानिवद्भावेन यकार रूपं प्राप्नोति तर्हि हषि च अश्वर्णे परे उत्वं भवति इत्यनेन उत्वं स्यात् अलि विधौ स्थानिवद्भाव निषेधः अतः स्थानिवद्भावः नास्ति सो इन ऑल केसेस इन anyway it happens to be an al vidhi generally why the question arises is when we say al vidhi we treat it as alaha vidhi that is when we are doing the karya in place of al there is sthanivat-bhava nishedha so he clarifies it is not just alaha vidhi it can be ala vidhi where the karya is not for an al I mean need not be for an al but just separation by an al okay or alah parasya vidhi or a karya which is not in place of an al but when followed by an al or when preceded by an al so in all these cases there is nishedha for sthanivat-bhava sarvatra sthanivat-bhava nishedha asti kincha alcha iha sthanyavayava eva grihyate sthanyalashaya vidhau eva sthanivat-bhava nishedha only when the vidhi depends on an al in the sthani स्थान्यलाशय विधौ एव स्थानिवद्भाव निषेधः आदेशे विद्यमानम् अलम् आश्रित्य कार्यं कर्तुं शक्यते यथा रामाय राम ङे प्रत्यये परे ङेर्यः इत्यनेन यादेशः यण्यादौ सुपि दीर्घः विधीयते सुपि च इत्यनेन यण्यादौ सुपि. Now this karya supi cha depends on an al. It depends on yai varna. Now this yai varna is present in the adesha. Adeshe ya ityasmin yany varna asti. आदेशे विद्यमानम् अलमाश्रित्य अयं विधिः प्रवर्तते न तु स्थान्यलम् आश्रित्य. स्थानीभूतं supam आश्रित्य प्रवर्तते. It does depend on the sthani but not on a single al in the sthani. It depends on suptva dharma in the sthani, which is a samudaya dharma. But in the adesha it does not depend on, in the sthani it does not depend on a single letter. Okay, it depends on a single letter present in the adesha. यही च आदेशावयवः न तु स्थान्यवयवः. अतः स्थानीभूतम् अलम् यत्र आश्रित्य विधिः प्रवर्तते तत्र स्थानिवद्भाव निषेधः. तदेतत् सकलम् अभिप्रेत्याह न तु स्थान्यलाश्रये इति. आश्रयणं च इह यथा कथञ्चित् न तु प्राधान्येनैव. And it need not be the alashrayana, that is the vidhi depending on the al, need not be pradhana, that is mainly depending on the al. The al there in the vidhi can either be a visheshana or be a visheshya, as in the case ardhadhatukasya it valadehe. Valadehe ardhadhatukasya it. There ardhadhatuka is the pradhana visheshya, valadi is a visheshana to ardhadhatuka. And ardhadhatuka which begins with val will get it. Okay. Now this, even though it is not pradhanyena alvidhi, it does not say valaha idagamaha, ardhadhatukasya idagamaha, kidrisham ardhadhatukam valadi ardhadhatukam yad bhavati tasya idagamaha. Ataha visheshanattvena adi ashrite api sthanivadbhava nishedhaha asti. So there are 3 points he makes. First thing, the alashraya can be in 4 ways. Ala vidhi, alah parasya vidhi, alah vidhi or al vidhi. Second thing, it has to be dependent on an al in the sthani. And the third thing, it can be dependent on an al in the sthani either as pradhana or as visheshana. So in both cases there is sthanivat bhava. Tan nishedhaditi sthanivatva nishedhat. Any questions in sthanivat bhava? A very important sutra. And I can guarantee you that there will be one question in the test from this sutra. Okay. So, if you have any questions, you are free to ask now. Yes. I still can't hear you. I'm sorry. If you have a question, you can type it out. So there's a question from Paul. Could you explain the Visheshana part again? See, when you're saying al-vidhi, okay, when you're saying, say something like, let's take an example here. Lopo vyorvali. Okay, dyukamaha ityasya alaha vidhau dyukamaha. Div ityasya sthane vakarasya sthane ukaradeshah kratah. Tasya sthani madbhavena vakare lopo vyorvali ityanena valopaha syat. If we take sthanimadbhava here, there will be valopa by lopo vyorvali and there is nishedha. Now lopo vyorvali ityanena uchyate vyoho vakarasya yakarasya cha lopaha. So principally that val is pradhana there. I mean vakara and yakara. Vyoho eva sakshat lopaha vidhiyate. The al there is not a visheshana, it is a visheshya. Sakshat vakarasya yakarasya va lopaha vidhiyate. Idam pradhanyena alashrayanam. That is principally it is depending on an al. The vidhi is principally for the al. Okay. But if you take something like what he says, valadehe ardhadhatukasya it. Okay. There it is not idagama for val. Val varanasya idagamaha na kriyate, ardhadhatukasya eva idagamaha. Valadi is treated as a Visheshana to the Ardhadhatuka. Ataha Apradhanam. Visheshana is always Apradhana. The Visheshya itself is Pradhana. So in both cases, whether the Al is a Visheshya, as in case of Lopo Vyorvali, or where it is Visheshana, as in case of Ardhadhatuka Syed Valadehe, in both cases, the Sthanivat Bhava Nishedha will apply. Ashrayanam chaiha yatha kathanchit. Arthat Visheshanattvena Ali Ashrite, Visheshyattvena Ali Ashrite, Ubhayatha api Sthanivat Bhava Nishedha bhavatyeva. Any other questions? Yes, Ardhadhatukasya Valadehe ityatra Valaha Idagamaha na vidhiyate. Ardhadhatukasya Idagamaha vidhiyate. Valadi Lakshanaha iti nama Valadihi Lakshanam nama Visheshanam atra. Valadehe Ardhadha Valadi Lakshanaha is where Valadi is one of the conditions for the Idagama. Astadaha Ardhadhatukasya Idagamaha vidhiyate. Yaha Valadi Lakshanaha. वलादेः आर्धधातुकस्य वलादित्वं तत्र विशेषणत्वेन आश्रीयते न तु विशेष्यत्वेन वलादेः वलः इडागमः न वलादिलक्षणः वलादिः लक्षणं यस्य आर्धधातुकस्य वलादित्वं लक्षणम् अस्ति तादृशस्य आर्धधातुकस्य इडागमः विधीयते तत्रापि स्थानिवत्वनिषेधः भवति. Okay, you can move ahead. And Yogesh Mahodaya, itopi na shruyate vataha. Probably to this. So next is Atah Parasmin Purvavidhau. Who will read this? Hema.
Hello.
Yeah, please. I can hear you.
Okay. Achat parasmin purva vidau. Achatah alvidi artham iti. Tena vrashah cha ityatra.
Vavrashcha.
Vavrashah cha ityatra vasya samprakaranam na.
Vavrashcha ityeva.
Oh, okay. There's no visarga there?
No, there is no visarga.
Oh. Vavrashcha ityatra vasya samprakaranam na. Uradatvasya tanivatvena samprakaranataya na samprakarana iti nishedha na cha uratvam paranimittam na iti vachyam angakshipte pratyeye pare tat vidana prag abhyasa vikharebhyah angadhikarah iti paksham dushayitva
asaptama samaptehe
iti pakshasya eva akare siddhantitatvat kincha purvasutrena tani prayuktam
अति अधिशयते
अतिदिश्यते
अतिदिश्यते न तु आदेशप्रयुक्तं वार्यते नायकः पावकः इत्यादौ एचः अयवायवः इति आदीनाम् अप्रवृत्तिप्रसङ्गात् अनेन तु वार्यते शब्दाधिकारम् आश्रित्य भाव अभावयोः उभयोः अपि अतिदेशः अयमिति स्वीकारात् न पदान्त इति सूत्रे यलोप दीर्घादिग्रहणं च इह लिङ्गम् अतएव गणयति इत्यादौ न वृद्धिः स्थानिनि सत्य भवन्ति
स्थानिनि सति
सति
अभवन्त्याः
आस्तस्य
अभवन्त्याः तस्याः
सति अभवन्त्याः तस्याः आदेशः अपि अभाव अतिदेशात् उक्तं च कामम् अतिदिश्यतां वा सच्चापि
सच्च असच्चापि
न इह भारः अस्ति इति स्यात् एतत् पूर्वत्वस्य सावधित्वेन सन्निहितस्य एव अवधित्वम् उचितम् सन्निहितं च इह त्रयं स्थानि आदेशो निमित्तं च तत्र न तावत् स्थानि अवधिः कस्य आदेशेन अपहारात् न अपि आदेशनिमित्ते वैयाकरण इत्यत्र ऐकारस्य
आयादेशापत्तेः
इति आशङ्क्याः अचः पूर्वत्वेन दृष्टस्य इति पूर्वत्वम् उपलक्षणं न तु विशेषणम् इति भावः एतेन अचः पूर्वत्व
विज्ञानात् ऐचोः
सिद्धम् इति वार्तिकं व्याख्यातम्
अस्तु धन्यवादः Okay. Achah parasmin purvavidhau. Again, a very important sutra. Okay. So both sthanivat and achah parasmin purvavidhau. Very, very important to understand. I mean, many things further on in Vyakaranam. So, what are the differences between achah parasmin purvavidhau and sthanivadadesho and alvidhau? As it says, first thing, achah parasmin purvavidhau alvidhyartham. It brings about sthanivad bhava even in case of alvidhi. So that is the first principal difference. Sthanivadadeshaha analvidhau ayam to alvidhaveva sthanivad bhavaha. Gorthaha paranimittaha ajadeshaha sthanivat syat sthanibhutadachah purvatvena drishtasya vidhau kartavye. There are three conditions for achah parasmin purvavidhau. Paranimittaha ajadeshaha sthanibhutadachah purvatvena. Ajadeshaha. So, adesha for an ach, स्थानिवत् भवति. कीदृशः अजादेशः? परनिमित्तः. So an ajadesha which is dependent on something which follows. Paranimittaha ajadeshaha sthanivat syat. Tada sthanibhutadachah purvatvena drishtasya vidhau kartavye. When we are trying to do a vidhi for something which preceded the sthani, the ach which was the sthani. So there are three conditions. So an example for that is vavrashcha. Vrashcha dhatuhu tasya lit lakaraha. So I will not give the whole rupa here. We have done it. You can go back and refer. So the main point is liti dvitvam kriyate. Vrashcha vrashcha. Tatra abhyasasya samprasaranam bhavati. Samprasarane rephasya rikaraha. You have vrishcha vrashcha. Now this rikara urat ityanena rikarasya sthane akaradeshaha bhavati. So varu vrashcha raparatve varu vrashcha haladisheshe va vrashcha a ityasti. Now the question is vavrashcha ityatra vakarasya prathama vakarasya punaha samprasaranam bhavati va. It says liti abhyasasya ubhayesham. In lit lakara the abhyasa will get samprasarana. We have already applied it once. Vra iti sthite rephasya samprasaranam kritam rikaraha rikarasya akaradeshaha ityadi sarvam kritam. Idanim punaha vakarasya samprasaranam bhavati va iti prashnaha. Samprasaranam na bhavati. Kuto na bhavati? Na samprasarane samprasaranam iti nishedhaha. Samprasarane pare purvasya samprasaranam na bhavati. When followed by samprasarana, the preceding one will not get. Where is the samprasarana now? The samprasarana was rikara. The rikara is no longer there. It has been replaced by akara. So we use sthanivat bhava to state that the akara is still rikara. That is, it is still samprasarana. So that is where we apply achah parasmin purvavidhau. Ajadeshaha. Achaha rikarasya sthane adeshaha. Paranimittaha. It depends on the pratyaya. Sthanibhuta achaha purvatvena drishtasya. Now you had vra, right? Vra ityatra sthanibhutaha. Vra ityatra vru iti krute sthanibhuta achaha nama rikarat purvatra drishtasya vakarasya samprasarane kartavye sthanivat bhavaha bhavati. Yadyapi alvidhihi. Na samprasarane samprasaranam iti alvidhihi. It depends on a single al which is samprasarana. So it is an alvidhi. Still, achah parasmin purvavidhau ityanena sthanivat bhavaha bhavati. Akarasya sthanivatvena samprasaranatve na samprasarane samprasaranam iti nishedhaha. That is the example for achah parasmin purvavidhau. Uradatvasya sthanivatvena samprasaranataya na samprasarane samprasaranam iti nishedhat. Now there is a question here. Nacha uratatvam paranimittam na. In urat, the sutra which gives the akara desha for rikara, it says urat. There it does not say pratyaye pare. It just says abhyasa rikarasya akara desha. A rikara in the abhyasa will be converted to akara. So it is not paranimitta. Nacha uratatvam paranimittam na iti vachyam angakshipte pratyaye pare tadvidhanat. It is in the angadhikara. Okay. So where is angadhikara? The extent of angadhikara again has been decided in the bhashya as asaptama samaptehe till the end of 7th chapter. Starting from 641 till the end of 7th chapter, it is angadhikara. Wherever there is anga, yasmat pratyaya vidhihi tadadi pratyaye angam. So an anga is defined when followed by the pratyaya. So urat ityatrapi pratyaye iti akshipyate. Pratyaye pare eva uradatvam. Ataha uradatvam api paranimittam eva. It happens only when there is a pratyaya following. Therefore it is paranimitta. And vavrashcha is an example for achah parasmin purvavidhau. This is sthanivat bhava in case of alvidhi. Alvidhau sthanivat bhavaha. Okay. So that is the first point of difference between sthanivat adesho on alvidhau and achah parasmin purvavidhau. The second point is kincha purva sutrena sthani prayuktam atidishyate natu adesha prayuktam varyate. There are two kinds of atidesha, what we call the bhavatidesha and the abhavatidesha. Bhavatidesha nama sthanini sati yad bhavati tad adeshepi bhavati. A karya which would happen when the sthani was present will also happen when the adesha, even after the sthani has been replaced by adesha. Abhavatidesha nama sthanini sati yat na bhavati tad adeshe satyapi na bhavati. that which cannot happen when there is the sthani will not happen even after the adesha comes. Sthanivadadesha analvidhau gives only bhavatidesha. That is, sthani prayuktam atidishyate. We can do a karya depending on a sthani dharma. Kintu natu adesha prayuktam varyate. We cannot prevent a karya depending on the adesha. Okay. For example, nayakaha pavakaha. Ni dhatohu nul pratyaha nulaha vukara vu ityasya sthane aka iti adeshaha. Ni aka atra sthani nama nul. Nuli sati yad bhavati vruddhi. Because nul is nit, we can have vruddhi. Sthanini sati yad bhavati vruddhi. Adeshe satyapi bhavati. Even after you replace vu with aka, we can still have vruddhi. Okay. Nayakaha iti bhavati. Kintu sthanini sati yan na bhavati. Nuli sati echoyavayavaha iti ayadeshaha na bhavati. Why? Because vu is not achi. It is not ach, and therefore you cannot have the echoyavayavaha applying there. If we apply abhavatidesha here, nayakaha pavakaha ityadau echoyavayavaha ityasya apravrittihi. We cannot apply echoyavayavaha. Therefore, we take only bhavatidesha. Sthani prayuktam bhavati, adesha prayuktam api bhavati. Adesha prayuktam na varyate. We cannot prevent that which can be done due to an adesha. But in case of achah parasmin purva vidhau, abhavatidesha is also accepted. Even in vavrashcha, that is what we saw. Sthanini sati, nama rikare sati yad na bhavati, samprasaranam na bhavati, adeshe satyapi. Even after you do an adesha, that is akara, we still do not have samprasarana. That is abhavatidesha. Anena tu varyate, shabdadhikaram ashritya, bhava bhavayohu, ubhayohu api atideshaha. So it can be both bhavatidesha and abhavatidesha. Okay, so that is also shown by Napadanta iti sutra, yalopa dirghati grahanam. In case of yalopa, dirgha, etc., it can always be abhavatidesha only, and that is prevented by Napadanta. Okay, yadi abhavatideshaha nangi kriyate, tarhi yalopadi grahanam napekshate Napadanta iti sutre. Atayeva ganayati ityadau na vruddhihi. Gana iti akarantaha dhatuhu, nich प्रत्ययः अतो लोपः इत्यनेन अकारस्य लोपः. इदानीम् अत उपधायाः इत्यनेन ग इति अकारस्य वृद्धिर्भवति वा इति चेत् स्थानिवद्भावेन लुप्तम् अकारम् आश्रित्य अस्य अकारस्य उपधात्वं नास्ति, अतः वृद्धिः न भवति इति निषिध्यते. स्थानिनि सति अभवन्त्याः तस्याः. यदि स्थानी नाम गण इत्यत्र यदि द्वितीयः अकारः अस्ति, तर्हि गकारोत्तरस्य अकारस्य उपधात्वमेव नास्ति, अतः अतौपधायाः इति वृद्धिः न भवति. स्थानिनि सति अभवन्त्याः तस्याः नाम वृद्धेः आदेशे अपि अभावातिदेशात्. उक्तं च कामम् अतिदिश्यतां वा सत् च असत् च. भावः अपि अतिदिश्यताम् अभावोऽपि अतिदिश्यतां नेहभारोऽस्ति इति भाष्यकारः वदति. So that is the second key difference between sthanivadadesho analvidhau and achah parasmin purvavidhau. The first, that it is alvidhi. The second, that it also accepts abhavatidesha. Okay. And then there is one more point here. Purva vidhau ityuchyate kasmat purvasya vidhau. It does not say kasmat purvasya. Purva is before. Before what? Sannihitancha iha trayam. I mean, in the context there are only three things that are present. Sthani, adeshaha, nimittam. It can either be before the sthani, before the adesha, or preceding the nimitta. Tatra natavat sthani avadhihi tasya adeshena apaharat. The sthani has been lost, that is, it has been replaced by adesha. Ataha sthaninaha purvasya vidhau iti vaktum na shakyate. Napi adesha nimitte. And you cannot take either adesha or nimitta. Why? Vayyakaranaha ityatra aikarasya ayadesha pattehe. If we do that, vayyakaranaha, vi-a-karana ityasti, there is an pratyaya, vi-a iti yanadeshe vyakaranam iti bhavati, tatra aich iti agamaha kriyate. Okay, there is an aich agama which comes there, which becomes v-yakarana iti sthite, vai-yakarana iti bhavati. Atra यदि व्याकरण इत्यत्र वि आकरण इति स्थिते यणादेशः कृतः, the e has been replaced by ya. Now we have to prevent स्थानिवद्भाव here. यदि स्थानिवद्भावः भवति तर्हि ऐकारस्य आयादेशः भवति. स्थानिवद्भाव निषेधार्थम् अतः परस्मिन् पूर्वविधौ इति अङ्गीक्रियते. तत्र आदेशात् पूर्वस्य विधिः अपि न. The aikara is not, it is preceding the adesha, it is also preceding the nimitta, okay, but it is not preceding the sthani. Sthanini sati, when there was ikara there was no aikara, atah sthaninah purvatvam nasti, adesha nimittabhyam purvatvam asti. तथा सति अत्र यदि स्थानिवद्भावः भवति तर्हि आयादेशः स्यात्. Okay, so to prevent application of अचः पूर्वस्मिन् पूर्वविधौ here we say पूर्वत्वेन दृष्टस्य स्थानिभूताद् अचः पूर्वत्वेन दृष्टस्य, that which was seen preceding the ach which was sthani, even though the sthani is not present now, when it was there, something which was preceding that, if that is getting a karya now, then only we have स्थानिवद्भाव. स्थानिभूताद् अचः पूर्वत्वेन दृष्टस्य यदि कार्यं तर्हि तत्रैव स्थानिवद्भावः अचः परस्मिन् पूर्वविधौ इत्यनेन. वैयाकरणः इत्यत्र स्थानी नाम इकारः, वि आकरण. इकारस्य सत्वे ऐकारः नास्ति. ऐकारः has not yet arrived. अतः स्थानिभूताद् अचः पूर्वत्वं नास्ति इत्यतः अत्र स्थानिवद्भावः न भवति, तेन ऐकारस्य आयादेशः नास्ति. पूर्वत्वम् उपलक्षणं न तु विशेषणं. The difference between upalakshana and visheshana is that visheshana is that which is present. Upalakshana is that which was there sometime but which is not there now. Okay. अतः पूर्वम् आसीत्, पूर्वं यः अच् आसीत् तस्मात् पूर्वत्वेन दृष्टः. अविद्यमानं सत् व्यावर्तकं विशेषणम्. So पूर्वत्वम् उपलक्षणं न तु विशेषणम् इति भावः. एतेन अचः पूर्वत्वविज्ञानात् ऐचो सिद्धम् इति वार्तिकं व्याख्यातम्. So that is a vartika in the bhashya which gives the same sense. Question here. So when the sthani is gone, it cannot apply. No, I mean the sthani is always gone. See, अचः परस्मिन् पूर्वविधौ, the sthani nastyeva. In any case, sthani is always replaced by the adesha. Only when we have the adesha do we think of sthanivad-bhava. But the thing which we are trying to work on now, the present karyi, should have been present even when the sthani was there. It should have been present preceding the sthani even in the earlier stage when the sthani was there. If there is something which is added after the sthani has been replaced by the adesha, then we cannot apply sthanivad-bhava by this. Yeah. So if there is a new addition, vayyakarana ityatra, first we do the adesha, we replace e with yan, then we bring in the aikara. For this aikara, we cannot use sthanivad-bhava. So the sthanivad-bhava by achah parasmin purvavidho can be applied only for something which existed preceding the sthani, when the sthani was there. Okay. Any other questions? The next sutra is Napadanta Dvirvachana. So there's nothing special here. I mean, it is all examples, which I think, I mean, if you go back to the notes and look at the prakriya, you should be able to see it. There's only one point here. Padanta. By Padanta, we say Padasya charamavayave kartavye. That is, not when we are doing a karya for Padanta. When the karya we are doing will result in a Padanta, will result in something which is at the end of a pada, then there is no sthanivad-bhava. Okay. So, for example, they say is vrikshav. In vrikshav, we are trying to do a lopa. Okay. So, lopa, even if there is a lopa, is done for a padanta. That is, it is deleting something which is present at the end of a pada. The lopa will not result in a padanta. Parasya charamavayave kartavye. So it will not result in a padanta, and therefore there is no sthanivad-bhava nishedha. There is sthanivad-bhava. So to prevent sthanivad-bhava, if a karya is something which will result in a padanta, then there is no sthanivad-bhava. So that's it. I think the rest you can go back and look at the prakriya and you'll know it. If you have any questions, you can ask. So in the next class, we will continue with Sanyogantasya Lopaha. Okay. Any questions now? So a reminder, today is the last date for the assignments on Etyadhatyutsu. So people who are not there, I had asked for an assignment, just 2 pages or 3 maximum, on the arguments and answers in Etyadhatyutsu. Today is the last date, but as always our dates are extendable. So I'll keep extending them till I receive the assignments from you. So please send them in as soon as possible. Paul says you send it. No, I have not received it. I received the assignment from Muthu Lakshmi, which I thought I'll kept it aside so that I'll correct all of them together. I'll look at all of them together. I have not received it from you, Paul. Yes, Yogesh, I think you're... Oh, okay. If you sent it today, then I have not looked at my mail today, so I might have got it. Yes, I'll check it. Okay. I'll check it and send you a confirmation if I have received it. Yogesh, you had something to say? I still cannot hear you, so maybe you should better type it out. So Yogesh, I think your test paper is still pending. I'll send it. I'll look at it one of these days and send it. So meanwhile, you can send in the assignment. Anything else? Dhyayam dhyayam param brahmasmaram smaram guror kiraha siddhanta kaumudi vyakhyam kurmah praudhamanorama.